Building an emergency fund might seem challenging when your income barely covers your needs, but it is possible to build an emergency fund with careful planning and disciplined habits. 3 months ago, I started building an emergency fund, which has greatly helped reduce my financial stress. So far, so good. I've been able to save for 1 month of my basic living expenses. So with that said, in this video, I will share my tried and trusted tips on building an emergency fund and how you can start building one, even if you're a low-income earner. First things first, what is an emergency fund? Basically, an emergency fund is a saving cushion that helps you manage unexpected financial emergencies without relying on high-interest debts such as credit cards or payday loans. Ideally, your emergency fund should cover 3 to 6 months worth of your living expenses, like your essential living expenses. Your emergency fund should be able to cover that. For example, if you spend £1,000 a month on rent, feeding, heating bills, and other essentials, you might aim to save £3,000 to £6,000 for your emergency fund. However, saving 3 to 6 months of your monthly living expenses can be overwhelming. So starting small is vital because any amount saved, even if it's just a few pounds, can actually provide you with some relief during tough times. Now, you might be wondering when is the best time to start saving for an emergency fund. While it's a good idea to set up an emergency fund as soon as possible, like start right now, it is best to keep to what you can afford and try to save regularly. The best time to start saving for an emergency fund is actually right now. Because by beginning early, you can protect yourself from unexpected expenses, gain peace of mind, and benefit from compounding interest, especially if you choose to save your emergency fund in a high yield savings account. So for the sake of those who do not know what compounding interest means, or what it is, compounding interest is like a snowball effect where your savings earn interest and then the interest earns interest, helping you to save and grow your money over time and even protect your savings from inflation. Starting to build an emergency fund right now can also foster better financial discipline, contributing to your overall financial health and provide you with the flexibility to make some life choices without stressing over your financial security. So for instance, if you have 6 months of your essential living expenses and your job is stressing you, you can decide to leave the job and look for another one within 6 months. Like, it can just help you make some lifestyle choices that you would not normally make, because if you make it to affect you financially, like for instance, if you want to leave your job, if you want to leave your job and you know that, within 3 to 6 months, I can get another one, just save up your emergency fund and quit your job and start looking for another job or travel the world. You will not have to think about money when you're making some decisions. So that's why an emergency fund is good. Now let's dive into the video proper. Let me share my tried and trusted tip for building an emergency fund. Now, the first one is to set realistic goals, especially if you are on a low income. You see, saving several months of expenses may seem daunting. Start by aiming to save 1 month worth of living expenses. Like, start with 1 month first. You see, this small goal is more achievable and can cover minor emergencies such as a sudden car repair or medical bills. Once you reach this initial target, you can gradually work towards building a larger fund, like saving for 2 months worth of living expenses and so on. So start with 1 month first. After 1 month, then save for 2 months, then save for 3 months, then 4 months, like that. So don't start with like big goals. Start small and build it up, because this actually helped me when I was building my emergency fund. Or will I say, this is even helping us as we are building our emergency fund right now. Now, the second tip is to create a budget. Now, before you start to build an emergency fund, assess your current financial situation to understand your income, expenses, and spending habits. This will just help you create a more realistic budget and stick with it. So to create a budget, list all your income sources and necessary expenses such as rent, utility, groceries, and transportation. And from there, you'll be able to figure out how much you'll be able to put into your emergency fund, and it will help you stick to a payment plan, like help you stick to a financial plan of how you want to spend your money. Now, a budget is your best tool for managing your money effectively. So immediately after you assess your expenses, just create a budget that prioritizes your saving. Now, when you're creating a budget, you want to use the 50-30-20 rule as a guide. Allocate 50% of your income to needs such as rent, food, utility, and 30% to wants such as dining out and entertainment, and 20% to savings and debt repayments. Now, you might need to adjust this rule as needed based on your personal circumstances, like based on your personal financial circumstances. But the key is to include savings as a non-negotiable expense. Now, the third tip I would give you when building an emergency fund is to open a separate savings account. You see, keeping your emergency fund separate from your everyday spending money would actually help you avoid the temptation of dipping into your emergency fund for non-emergency expenses. Now, when you're opening a separate savings account for your emergency fund, like where you want to save your emergency fund in, you want to consider opening a high yield savings account. And if you live in the UK, you can consider opening an individual savings account which offers tax-free interest, because in the UK, if you want to save money, right, and you use an account that does not have tax-free interest, you would have to pay tax on any gains you make on your savings. I don't even know how that makes sense to the UK government, but yeah, you have to pay something called capital gains tax if the interest you get on your savings hits a particular amount of money. Now, the interest rates on individual savings accounts might be generally low compared to other high-yield savings accounts, but every little bit helps to grow your money over time and protect it from inflation. So yeah, it's still worth it in my opinion. Now, if you have watched this video to this point, it can only mean one thing. It means you find this video valuable. So please give this video a thumbs up so that YouTube can recommend it to more people and they can also benefit from the information in this video. Tip number 4 is to automate your savings, like automate how you want to save for your emergency fund. You see, automating the process is one of the best ways to ensure you save money regularly into your emergency fund. Now, if your budget is tight, start with small amounts and gradually increase your contribution as your financial situation improves. So basically, to automate paying money into your emergency funds, just set up a direct debit or a standing order to transfer a small amount of money. Just transfer small fixed amount of money from your current account or your checking account or your everyday account to your emergency account, like to the account where you're saving for your emergency fund on Payday. So make sure this is on Payday so that you don't spend all your money and then you don't put money into your emergency fund. So that's why if you automate it, you don't have to do this on Payday, because on Payday you already have a standing order that will automatically remove the money from your checking account or from your current account or from your everyday account to like the account you're using to save for your emergency fund. Even if it's just £50 or £100 a month, it can add up over time without requiring you to make active efforts. Now, tip number 5 is to actually establish a payday routine. On Payday, take a minute to review your finances, check your account balances, ensure your bills are paid on time, and assess your overall financial situation. Also, you want to ensure that you make saving for your emergency fund the first thing you do after you receive your paycheck on Payday if you do not automate the process. By paying yourself first, by putting money into your emergency fund, you can ensure that you would consistently contribute to your emergency fund before spending your paycheck on other expenses. Now, speaking on Payday, I do have a video on the channel detailing my Payday routine. I will link the video to this video for those who want to establish a Payday routine or are wondering what is a Payday routine. That video breaks down my Payday routine and everything you should be doing on Payday. Tip number 6 is to look for ways to increase your income. While budgeting and cutting expenses are crucial, increasing your income can significantly boost your ability to save. So you want to increase your income by working a part-time job if you already have a full-time job, or even changing jobs to a higher paying job, like changing your full-time job to a higher paying job. Or you can consider freelancing on the side with your full-time job or selling items you no longer need. You see, small addition to your income stream can make a big difference when it comes to saving for your emergency funds. Actually, you can declutter your home by selling items you no longer need. There are some items you would have in your house that you know that you would never use this thing again. Maybe you just use it once or you just bought it for buying sake. You can sell it on online platforms like eBay, Craigslist, or Facebook Marketplace can help you turn these items into cash using the extra money you get from selling these items exclusively for your emergency fund, like not using them to buy more clutter, no, but putting it in your emergency funds. Number 7 tip is to make small incremental increase to your savings. So what I mean is that as your financial situation improves, increase the amount you put into your savings each month. Now, I don't know for other countries or other sectors, but here in the UK and in the company I work for, there's a particular month in a year where they will literally review most people's salary that work in my company, and they would adjust their salary to fit inflation or to match inflation. To be fair, it doesn't match inflation, but it's an increase and we're always grateful for it. So you see, all those little increases can just help you build your emergency fund faster. For example, if you get a pay rise or you pay off a loan, let's say you have one loan and then you've paid off that loan, you can direct the extra money into your emergency fund, because obviously you're not paying the loan anymore. So that money that was allocated for the loan can just go into your emergency fund. Just prioritize your emergency fund. And like I said, if you get a pay rise, prioritize your emergency funds, because this gradual increase helps you to build your fund faster without feeling a pinch in your day-to-day finances. So you're not going to have like a lifestyle change because you can't afford your lifestyle. You can still live your current lifestyle, but it's just that any increase will go into your emergency fund and not for you to adjust to a more expensive lifestyle, or maybe if you have finished paying a debt, it's not for you to go and collect more loan. No, it's for you to be able to build your emergency. After you finish building your emergency fund, to be fair, you can use the money you are meant to be putting in your emergency funds for extra things like, to have like a lifestyle upgrade, but just make sure you prioritize your emergency fund first, because same way you're using the money you got from a pay rise or by paying off a debt, that's the same way that after you finish building your emergency fund, the money you're putting into your emergency fund can also be redirected to other things. So you see, it's a win-win situation. Tip number 8 is to cut unnecessary expenses. You want to revisit your budget regularly to find new ways to save. And when you're trying to find new ways to save money when revisiting your budget, start by identifying areas where you might be overspending on. Likewise, cutting unnecessary expenses might include canceling unused subscription, cutting down on dining out and maybe cooking more at home, and finding cheaper alternatives for your everyday expenses or impulse purchases. You could even switch to a more affordable mobile plan, reduce your energy consumptions by offering your light when you're not using it, or shop at discounted supermarket or the charity shop. You see, all of these small changes can actually help you free up extra cash, and you can redirect the money you saved by cutting down on your expenses into your emergency fund. Like, you can put it directly into your emergency fund instead of spending it on other things. Prioritize that emergency fund. Tip number 9 is to stay disciplined and motivated. You see, building an emergency fund can take time, and persistence is key, especially when you are a low income earner. But when you feel like giving up, always remember that every pound you save towards your emergency fund would help you have a more secured financial future. So stay disciplined and motivated, and you will reach your goal one day. Like the timeline you put, that timeline will come and go. Because they used to say, to walk 1,000 miles, all you need is just start with one step, and you keep walking and walking before you would already reach 1,000 miles. Likewise, when you feel like it's taking too long for you to build an emergency fund, just keep reminding yourself of the reason why you started building an emergency fund. So you have to have a good reason why you want to build an emergency fund. Remind yourself of that when you feel like giving up, and remind yourself of the security and the peace of mind saving for emergencies will bring you in time of emergencies. Likewise, you want to avoid using your emergency funds for non-emergency expenses so that it doesn't take you a long time to save for your emergency funds. And doing this can be tempting, but again, discipline is key. Only use the funds for true emergencies such as unexpected medical expenses, if you lost your job or you have a major car repair. Now, if you need to dip into your emergencies, prioritize replenishing it as soon as possible. Like I said, resume regular contribution and even increase them temporarily so that you can restore your emergency fund to where it was before you dipped your hand inside, and you can continue building up from there. Now, if you face any setback by missing a payment into your emergency fund, do not be discouraged. Just restart as soon as possible and ensure you put measures in place by having, like a payday routine or sticking to a budget so that you don't miss out on a payment moving forward. Now, for tip number 10, I've touched on it earlier on this video when I was talking about if you get a pay rise or if you finish paying a debt, you can redirect the money from that into your emergency fund. So basically, tip number 10 is to use Windfalls wisely. If you receive any unexpected money, such as a tax refund or monetary gift or work bonus, consider putting all or most of the money you receive from any of these into your emergency fund. Now, basically, doing what I just mentioned when it comes to finance is what is called a windfall. So windfall can significantly boost your savings with little impact on your daily budget or to your lifestyle. Tip number 11 is to always reevaluate or adjust your budget regularly or your goal for emergency fund regularly, just to fit your present financial situation. Regularly reviewing your emergency fund to ensure it meets your needs, your lifestyle changes, such as if you have a new job and you're getting more money, you adjust it to add more money. If you're getting married and you need to save for your wedding, you need to maybe remove small money or maybe reduce the amount you are putting. Or if you're having a child or you want to start having children, you have to adjust it to meet a certain target that can meet your new family size, things like that. You have to always readjust. You always have to adjust and reevaluate your emergency funds or your budget just to suit your current financial state. Likewise, as your income increases or you pay off your debt, consider increasing your monthly contribution to build your emergency fund faster. I think I've touched on this particular point severally in this video. So the more money you get, the more money you put in your emergency fund. Basically, that's how you should think about your emergency fund. Don't think about, the more money I get is the more money I will spend on my lifestyle, or the more money I'll use to buy things and stuff like that. Always prioritize putting money first into your emergency. That way, it helps you save money faster, and you can redirect the money you're putting into your emergency fund once you reach your goal for emergency fund into other things. Now, the last but not the least tip is to seek financial advice. Now, if you're struggling to manage your finances, consider seeking advice from charity organizations that specializes in helping people manage their finances, or pay for a financial advisor to help you audit your finances and help you look into your finances. Now, organizations like Citizen Advice, Step Change, and National Deadline can provide you guidance tailored to your situation, helping you to save and manage your money more efficiently. In conclusion, building an emergency fund can be challenging and it requires you to make some financial sacrifices, but it is not impossible to build an emergency fund. It is very possible to build an emergency fund. You see, you can gradually build a financial safety net by setting realistic goals, creating a budget, having a payday routine, automating your savings, and staying disciplined. Likewise, remember that the most essential step in saving for an emergency fund is to start. No matter how small the amount is, every pound you save brings you closer to financial security and brings you closer to the goal you have for your emergency fund. Now, if you're looking for more financial tips, do not forget to check out my video on 6 must-have accounts for managing your money effectively here in the UK.